Come on, come on. No! So lately I've been feeling myself getting on that 2-week Minecraft phase. You know the one. That feeling where you want to play the game again, but something is sort of getting in the way, so you change something up. Maybe you try a mod or a mod pack like I'm doing here. As a little bit of conjecture before we start, I'm the kind of Minecraft player that doesn't necessarily like playing vanilla Minecraft anymore. That ship has sailed and I'm just kind of over it at this point. So instead, I sift around looking for new mod packs. Many of them I've actually stuck with too. Pictured here, for instance, is Septec Ages, and it's really cool. You start out as a Neanderthal basically just smashing 2 rocks together, but by the end of the mod pack you can end up going into space through the use of the Galacticraft mod. It's a whole mod pack centered around the progressive stages of human evolution, technological advancements and stuff, and it's cool. We're not going to be talking about Septec Ages too much longer, it's just for the setup here, but I will say, if you plan on playing it for yourself, understand that this is an incredibly long mod pack. Like, possibly the longest you'll ever play. There's a lot of grinding involved to actually progress through those other stages, and it's a lot, basically. But it's through the use of playing this mod pack that I kinda realized something. Minecraft has made a lot of developmental missteps as time has went on. And not to beat around the bush anymore, the oldest of these missteps seems to be the hunger mechanic in Minecraft. I have slowly, over time, completely grown to hate these stupid little chicken nuggets. And because Minecraft is the most popular game of all time, you, me, and probably both of our parents ended up playing it. Statistically speaking anyway, and that's probably even true. As a result of Minecraft's ubiquity, other survival games have sort of taken the design elements from this game and incorporated it into their own games. And as a result, they might have taken some of their missteps too. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably already know that I have a love-hate relationship with survival games in general. And to keep things succinct here, I think the worst thing that these other games have sort of inherited from Minecraft are their hunger systems. Just consider this as a vague example. In the best case scenario, a hunger system is seen as sort of an inconvenience. You grab your pickaxe, you grab your torches, you head on out, and oh no, you forgot your food. May as well go back to the house and retrieve that real quick because it happens to be important. It's kind of an obligation, and that's not really fun. But if you're anything like me, and if you are, God I'm sorry, you might have found yourself wondering if there's any games that maybe have tried to reinvent this hunger mechanic. And that, my friends, is what we're going to do in this video right here. But before we do all that, why don't we take a look at what hunger systems actually do? What is their purpose from a dev angle, and how do they benefit the player as it stands currently, in their most Minecraft-ish way possible? Hunger systems in video games are, like, old. Really, really old. If you're willing to hit the actually button, technically they date as far back as a health bar. Think about it for a second. Food has been a health item since basically the dawn of the arcade game. And you could, if you wanted to, rationalize this as a hunger mechanic through a way of healing by using food. Consider that another name for health or HP might be stamina, depending on the game that you're playing. And food in the real world recharges your stamina. So in this way, stamina as a mechanic does some have immersive value. And this is all well and good, but why include stamina? Why include a hunger mechanic? Why would a dev decide to add stuff like this? If you ask me, the best way to answer this question might be to look at the genre that this mechanic inhabits the most. There's a reason I opened with Minecraft is basically what I'm saying. Having to worry about food in a survival scenario definitely fits a survival game. I've never survived a harsh environment ever in my life, haven't, visited a desert or what have you, but I'm willing to bet that the first thing that you would be considering in a survival scenario is where and how can I get food. A couple of y'all might be wanting to stop me and say, but what about water? And stop, I'm gonna stop you right there. We're not talking about water, just shut up and sit down. Long story short, looking for food in a survival scenario is immersive to a survival game. Pretty obvious, it fits the bill, blah blah blah, you get that. The fantasy of roughing it out in a harsh environment is a whole unique thing to survival games, I think. In the act of trailblazing, consider you building a structure in order to give yourself shelter maybe. You have protected yourself from the wind, the rain, and the enemies that want to attack you. And in the same way, you're fighting for the basic necessities, such as food. And yeah, whenever you're thinking about it all on paper, it totally makes sense, so where's the problem? Why do I suddenly have issues with this? Well, see, because to me, I kind of feel like survival and roughing it out is a little bit at odds with being a fun, playable video game. Not a lot, it's something that needs to be considered whenever a dev is making a game. How do you make construction fun in a video game sense? Well, give the player a bunch of options to see how they want to build their house. That's a way, and that's worked, you know, it's a tried and tested sort of mechanic that has stuck around for a reason. But as I said before, to me, I think a hunger mechanic in a survival game is a lot more of just an obligation. It's something you need to outright do in a lot of video games, and nobody really looks forward to feeding their player character. You look forward to building, you look forward to crafting up a new weapon or a new piece of armor, but nobody looks forward to cooking or eating food, not a video game anyway. So then, how do we get those neuron impulses firing off in your brain? How do we make food interesting in video games? Well, how about we draw inspiration from other things that human brains like to look at, like to feel? In my mind, I consider number go up as a good thing, but also player options. And that means it's example time. Let's double back to Minecraft for a sec. It seems like I'm not the only one that wants something more out of the hunger system in this game. A mod that features in SevTech Ages is called the Nutrition mod, made by Wes Cook. I find it pretty poetic that somebody with the last name of Cook has to do with making something in a video game that has to do with food. I don't know, just kind of funny. I define the Nutrition mod as simple but effective. It's not a very big mod, but basically all you have to do here is essentially eat varying different types of food, and you'll end up filling these little nutrition meters. The more nutritionally balanced you are, the more max health you get. It's simple, it's effective, and it just works. Like I said before, human like it whenever number go up. And I feel like a real tangible reward of getting extra health if you just keep your character eating healthy is a really nice way to balance this. It doesn't fix all of Minecraft's hunger-related issues, it is just a mod after all, but it is a good step in the right direction. It's just kind of missing that player freedom sort of angle that I feel like would help a lot in this situation though. Can video game food harbor player expression? Well, I'd like to say yes actually. Consider for a moment that food-related systems don't only appear in survival games. I know this is distinctly not survival-related, but consider that many RPGs now have some sort of eating mechanic. Friends sharing a warm meal over by a fire or something, and it provides stat benefits. No, you don't have to eat, it's not an obligation, but it is a benefit to the player. You can weigh your options depending on what you want to eat. Do you want more XP growth? Do you want more money? Do you want more enemy drops? All that stuff. Maybe it could be an idea for survival games to go this route. Maybe have it to where unlocking a new dish gives you more options for what you can benefit in terms of stats. Depending on the game, you can have it influence things like attack power or defense. Insert overly realistic footage of the food in Dragon's Dogma 2. Why is it like this? And actually, if you've watched some of my older videos, we have an example of this already. So, throwing it in here as sort of an honorable mention, Starlight River in Terraria. Food buffs in this game is important to building your character, and proper build crafting is pretty important in Terraria as well. Being able to customize a food buff completely and utterly is pretty good. I don't necessarily believe that Terraria is a survival game. It's something a little bit more different. Maybe it starts as a survival game, but it's a lot more of just like a boss gauntlet game, however you would call that. Whatever Terraria is to you doesn't necessarily matter, because again, the food system just kind of works here, especially in the Starlight River mod. Also, yeah, for the sake of complete transparency here, I'm reusing footage from my crafting video. If you're bored, go watch that one too. Terraria being a quote-unquote survival sandbox game means that it has a couple of limitations associated with it. But the important part is that quote-unquote bit that I said. Because arguably its most important mechanic isn't survival or crafting, it's just combat. This is a combat-first kind of survival video game. It also has a huge emphasis on build crafting, and with the Starlight River mod, you get more options to build your character, which is just great. That's an easy win for me. But we still have a problem here. No matter which way you swing it, both of these examples don't really hit all the points that I want to. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to discredit either of the creators that made these mods. What they do is good work. It's fun and engaging all on their own, but they are just mods. These games were not designed around these systems. And as a result, much like how mods typically are, they feel kinda tacked on. The problem here isn't the mods for these games, it's the games themselves. Terraria is not really a survival game. And Minecraft's hunger system never really worked in the first place. If only there was a game that gave both player freedom and substantial benefits to the player. If we had a game that offered both, I think it would be the perfect hunger system. But I mean, come on. Y'all know that I wouldn't be making a video about this if I didn't find something. I'm gonna try really hard not to just make this a review of Valheim. It's yet another survival sandbox game that's been overshadowed by the rest of the survival sandboxes in the market already. It's massively underrated, and you know what? I think it might just have the best hunger system I've ever seen in a video game, even. Valheim has it all, dude. The building is really cool and interesting, it's got the exploration with pretty vistas and such and a unique art style, and the combat doesn't suck. It's kind of amazing. All of this is neatly spun around in a cool Nordic folklore sort of style, and this game is sick. If I were to introduce the most important thing to Valheim, it would probably be the preparation that you would have to do. This is more interesting than it sounds, I promise. Consider for a moment that you're playing Minecraft. In fact, just imagine that original scenario I gave for you back in the beginning of this video. You prepare to go mining by grabbing your torches, getting your pickaxe, and grabbing your food. Preparation. Also important to a survival game, I think. One could say it's even somewhat underrated. But Valheim takes all of this a step forward. A leap forward, even. On top of all the normal things you would want to bring with you to a survival sandbox mining experience, Valheim also asks you to think about the enemies you're going to fight. If you're exploring a crypt for materials or metals or gold or something, you'll want to bring the pickaxe and the food and such, but you might also want to consider that you're fighting skeletons. Valheim has a damage system not unlike typical RPGs, slash, blunt, and pierce. There's a couple of other ones in there too, but that's not important. If you're going into a crypt, you maybe don't necessarily want to bring a sword with you. They're not going to bleed. Piercing probably could work, but it's probably not the best option. But rocks sure are good at breaking bones, and maybe you want to consider bringing that with you. So, maybe you decide to bring a hammer. Better go fetch me mallet and start breaking some boners. I'm never letting the boner joke go, I'm sorry.
Boner.
But all of this preparation starts with the food system in Valheim. Understand that eating in Valheim is still extremely important. When you first start the game having not eaten anything, you only have a measly 25 health and 50 stamina. This isn't enough to do hardly anything. You can run for maybe about 10 seconds, and most things in the game are going to one-shot you. How do you fix this? Well, the food, obviously. The real reason I like this system is because it feels like an open canvas. You start to think of it as sort of an open list of just how you can customize your character. To explain it some, you have 3 food slots that can be taken up by any food in the game. This can include individual ingredients when you're starting the game, or, if you're properly progressing and optimizing, full-on meals. The benefits you'll start seeing for meals depends on the meal itself. You might have one that gives you like 50 health, another one that gives you 60 stamina. And if you want to start casting magic, you need something that contains Ether, this game's magic system. And because you have 3 food slots, you can end up customizing this any which way you want to. If you find yourself being the frontline fighter for your friend group, you might want to have a whole bunch of health food. Say you get that 50 health benefit food, and then something else that gives you 60, and then something else that gives you 85. Now all of a sudden you can take a lot more damage. But you're not able to cast magic, that's left for somebody else in your friend group. Also, your stamina might not be the best, so probably don't use anything that requires a bunch of stamina. If you value movement above all else, then you might want to consider getting nothing but stamina food. Just, don't get hit now. And see, this is what I mean. This is why I think it's peak. It gives you the player expression and freedom, but also it gives you the number go up feeling. You feel stronger, you feel more capable, and because it's tied to the food system, you get really excited whenever you come across a new dish. You start thinking about what kind of applications it can have, and whether or not it's an upgrade to what you already have. Food is still a required system, but there's no hunger bar now. It's just what stats you want to make better. And once again, it feels like an open canvas for how to build your character. And because all the food is on a time limit, this leaves the player room to sort of experiment with different foods that they want to eat anyway. You might main some sort of high-protein dish to give yourself health, but maybe you're jumping around on a mountain. You're gonna need stamina for that. You need to start considering that. If you have a strategy for using a specific spell, you might need a lot of Ether. And this entire food system is just so delicately woven into the rest of the gameplay. Arguably the best part, this is only one system in Valheim. There's plenty of other stuff to look forward to in this game, and if you're interested, well, there's a link in the description to buy the game yourself. And hey, I mean, while you're down there, why not like and subscribe and do all that good stuff? If you have your own example of good food system, then bring it to the comments or bring it to the Discord. As of, well, yesterday, literally, I'm pretty sure Enshrouded has a system that's not unlike the one in Valheim. And just for that reason, it's kind of on my radar now. So, who knows, I might have something to say for that game too. And while we're wrapping up here, I feel the need to mention the Patreon as well. So if you feel like donating $1 a month, you'll get access to exclusive sneak peeks for future videos, as well as letting me shout your name out loud at the end of these videos. Oh man, I also only just realized that this would have been a great video around the time of Thanksgiving, but oh well. I think it's about time for me to get out of here though. I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget, I make a new video every Friday, so if this is your thing, like I said, like and subscribe. And as always, have a good day everybody.